You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 16. Today, guys, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite little hacks of all time for how to establish your own personal network that really works for you. This is great for introverts because you're the one calling the shots, and we're going deep here, not wide, which is why I know you're going to like it. This was one of my go-to strategies when I got my own practice off the ground, and there's no reason in the world this can't work for you. And I've created a little template for you to use so that you can do this yourself. Easy peasy. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, so what is up? How are you guys doing? We are in the middle of summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, and I don't know about where you are, but where I am, it has been kind of an interesting mix. At the time I'm recording this, the weather has been really actually kind of sweet, unusually so. In fact, for the last few days, I was camping up at the Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area, which is one of my favorite places in the world. It's a really pretty place in upper east central Tennessee. And the weather was great. We got up there, it was blazing hot, but then a small bit of storm blew through and cooled everything down. And the next few days were great. Perfect for hiking, perfect for sitting around at the camp. It was really nice. And yesterday was the summer solstice, so I made it a point to stay outside as long as I could last night. I wanted to appreciate and enjoy every single minute of daylight. How about you? What are you doing? Have you done anything outside? Are you guys getting out and making the most of this time of year, wherever you are? I hope you are. And as you are hiking or biking or walking your dog, I hope you're taking me with you. It'd be fun if I could kind of tune in and watch and sort of hang out with you, wouldn't it? And if you're enjoying this as much as I hope you are, I'd love it if you'd share it with a friend. If you're enjoying the podcast, pass it along to a friend. Yesterday, I got a text and an email from 2 different people telling me how much they were enjoying the podcast. And I have to tell you, that absolutely made my day because neither one of them were therapists in private practice. One was a coach and a pretty high-level executive coach, and one was someone who is, from what I can tell, a bit of a wizard in the nonprofit world. And I loved hearing that this is helping them. So if you know someone who could use either a little bit of guidance because they're just getting their practice off the ground or their business off the ground, or they've been at it for a while, but they could use a little encouragement or a little bit of a refresh, please share Ideal Practice with them. You will make me very happy, and I will love you forever. So there's that. So let's talk about what we're getting into today. I want to share with you one of my favorite little hacks. I call it an easy hack for those who hate networking, but love a deep conversation, because that's what this sets up. This was one of my go-to strategies back in the day when I was in the beginning, in the building phase of my group counseling practice. And I don't even remember how or why I started it. I think I just didn't know what else to do. And I really wanted to kind of get to know people in my town. I needed to know who was out there, what they offered, who could help my clients when I needed a resource for them. And to be honest, I was very consciously building a reputation for what today I would call a brand. I didn't call it that back then. It was just the name of our practice. But I knew enough that to start getting out there and start kind of, making a few new friends and kind of connecting with people. And so what I started doing was I would call 2 or 3, 4 people and say, how would you like to get together for just a kind of like a little small mini networking lunch? I'm thinking that we could meet at the local Mexican restaurant, maybe like on a Friday. Would that be easier? Maybe a little bit before the lunch hour rush so we can get a nice table and just hang out a little bit, get to know each other a little bit. What do you think? Would you like that? I called it a networking lunch, which is incredibly non-creative. I should have come up with something kind of, zazzy, but I wasn't thinking like that back then. I was a bit literal, but here's what I did. I did that in the beginning with just a couple of colleagues that I had shared a case with or had always heard about but had never actually met. Or maybe I had a phone call with them about something, but we never really got to hang out. Then I mentioned it to my primary care doctor one day. I said, you know what? A small group of us are going to meet for lunch in a few weeks just to kind of get to know each other. You want to join us? And to my surprise, she said yes. That's when I knew I was onto something. Then I invited the guidance counselor that worked at the local high school that one of the kids I was working with, had been interacting with. So I already had an excuse to talk to that person. So I called her up and said, hey, you know what? We're going to do kind of a little casual lunch in a few weeks. You want to hang out? That's how it started. Super low key, super simple, nothing fancy at all. Literally me picking up the phone or maybe sending an email to 3 people, 4 people that I either was actually interested in meeting or who had something a little different to offer, who could serve my clients from a different perspective. And of course, I invited 1 or 2 of my friends, other therapists that were either in my practice or that I knew real well. So that, I had somebody to talk to that I knew. And it was amazingly effective. I did that once and it went so well that I said, do you guys want to do this next month? Sure, let's do it. And so began what I called a monthly networking lunch, only I was organizing it and I kept it very small, very informal. And we did that. I think I did that for, I want to say 2 or 3 years. It was a good long time. And all kinds of unexpected benefits came from this. For example, I really did get to know other people in the community that I could turn to when I needed help. For example, we had a family support service that was run by the local court system that could help families and kids who needed help with everything from paying the rent to getting transportation to childcare. I had someone from that group come and join us one time. I got to know my doctor a lot better. And over time, other people from her office would come. I got to know other guidance counselors from different school in our community, like the elementary school, the middle school, the high school. I invited a couple of college folks along the way, a professor here or there. I invited people from the Department of Human Services, folks who were doing foster care or crisis intervention. I invited people who worked at a local alcohol and drug treatment center or the local psych hospital. It was super loose. It wasn't planned. It was very much like, who's out there? Who am I kind of curious about? And what ended up happening, as often happens with things like this, is that over time, there was a core group, I would say, of maybe 3 or 4 people, including me, who were pretty much there every single time. And then there were always 2 or 3 new folks who would kind of drift in and out over time. So we often would average between 5 and 7 people at these lunches. And you know what the other cool thing is? So I got to know people who could help my clients. So when I needed a resource, I knew who to call. My own referrals and the referrals for the other therapists in my practice, of course, started to increase because people now knew us and began to see us as a go-to resource. But not only that, this is also how I got to meet and gradually invite new providers to join my group practice. I didn't set out with that intent. That's just how it went. That was kind of an unexpected benefit. But what would happen is people would come several times and they liked us. They liked the energy. They liked what we were all about. And it wasn't unusual that either I would meet somebody that I think, you know what, she would be great. I think we should ask her to join us. Or someone would approach me. Do you guys have openings? You got any room over there? I really like what you're doing at your practice. I think it would be kind of cool to be a part of that. Any chance I might make the grade? So just the simple act of organizing a monthly lunch, not luncheon, nothing formal, nothing hardcore. Nobody was preparing a meal here. Just basically being the facilitator without even really trying naturally helped me develop relationships that served me well, served my practice well. And I bet if you ask them, would tell you served them well also. This was super effective getting my practice off the ground. But to give you a taste of how you can use this in other ways, or like where this went. Last year, and for the last couple of years, I had a Facebook group also called the Ideal Practice Community. Now I have put that on hold for now, so it's not available right now. But for a solid year, I was hosting something kind of like this virtually online, where once a month I would invite people to join me on a Zoom call, and I called it the cafe, the IP cafe. And literally we would have anywhere from 2 or 3 people to 7 or 8 people who would show up online, and we would talk. How's your practice going? How are you going? Who are you? What do you do? Where are you? And friendships were made. Well, that worked really well during the pandemic as a way of continuing that kind of networking. And then just a few months ago, I took that somewhere else. I kind of went back to my roots, and I posted a series of invitations online where I essentially said, anybody want to have lunch? And all I had to do was set up a few parameters, which I'll tell you about in a moment, and say a certain couple of things and facilitate. And before you know it, on a particular day, at a particular time, in a nice, pretty little sunny, shady spot at a local cafe, 10 providers showed up just to hang out. 10. And in that group, I knew about half of them. About half of them I'd never met before. Or maybe we had a bit of an email connection, but I didn't even know what they looked like. How cool is that? I was delighted at the turnout. Now that was bigger than my little networking lunches went with back when I was starting my practice. And I think that was probably about as big as I would want it to go. But what happened there, just like what always happened before, was people of like mind come together and instant connections are made. Other folks are like, oh, you're the one I saw on Facebook. Oh, you're the one that's opening that practice over there on Broadway. I've been curious about who was in there. It was such a nice, fun, easy way to connect. We weren't walking around passing out business cards. We weren't making small talk at all because we aren't small talk people, y'all. That's why I like this so much. It really does give you a way to connect with people at a deeper level, the way we like to do it. We healers, we introverts. You know what I'm talking about, right? You guys are with me. So let me give you just a couple of quick tips on what it takes to set this up, because it doesn't have to be hard. I promise. Number 1, first thing you got to do is find a good place. I would actually not do this at your office, even if you have a group room. I mean, you could do it, I guess, as a brown bag, bring your own lunch kind of thing. That would be fine. But there's something about that automatically adds pressure in my mind. For one, you got to make sure the office is clean. There's plenty of parking. It feels like you're a host, and that feels more like a party or a meeting or a workshop. And to me, that adds a little pressure. On the other hand, finding a nice restaurant or a cafe or a coffee shop that works does just fine. And then somebody else has it all set up. And all you have to do is get the right table. So a couple of things to think about when you're evaluating a place. Number 1, it helps if it's not too noisy. This can be because of the time of day you're there. It can be because of where you sit, or it can be because it's a smaller venue. And when I hosted my last cafe, which a few months ago, we met outside at a really popular local coffee shop. And I got there probably 30 or 40 minutes early so I could make sure I grabbed a spot that was big enough. And it was perfect. All I had to do was grab a couple of chairs, make a nice little circle tucked up over under a tree on a patio. It was perfect. But back when I was doing my networking lunches, when I first started my practice, I identified 2 or 3 restaurants in town that I knew had like a nook, a table back in the back, or a part of the restaurant that tended to be not as full as the others, because you do need to be able to hear each other talk. So try to find a place that's not too noisy. It also helps to find a place where the service is pretty speedy. There are certain places in town that everybody just knows. Don't go there if you're in a hurry. And then there are places that know how to get people in and out for lunch, especially during the business day. A little side tip for you here. One thing I would recommend is when your group gets together and places their order, go ahead and ask for the check right then. As soon as they take your order, go ahead and get the check and pay for it. That way it's taken care of and you don't have that extra time delay at the end. And when people need to take off, get back to work because they've got a client, it's easy for them to do. The third thing you might want to think about is to find a restaurant or a cafe or a coffee shop that has kind of a variety of foods that are available. That way you're more likely to have something that everybody can handle. You want an option that has vegetarian or vegan or gluten-free, those kinds of things. I like places that have some variety because I'm more likely to be able to, people are going to be happy, right? I also think it helps if it's close in some way to where most of you are located or where most of the people you're inviting tend to be located. So if you're in a large city, you might want to invite people that are on one side of town and pick a restaurant that is within a few miles of where most of them are going to be. I live in a fairly small town, so that's not too hard here. But you want to think about accessibility and drive time. Make it easy for people to get out of their office, get there, enjoy a nice lunch, and get back. I would actually try to find something that's within a 10 to 15 minute drive, if that's even possible. It depends a lot on where you live. If you're in a more urban environment, I know that might not be possible. And the last thing to think about is parking. Or if you are in an urban area, maybe access to mass transit. So a bus line, a train, something like that. Where I live, we don't have things like that. I just need to make sure people have a room to park and that it's easy to get in and out of. So it does take a little bit of thought to find the right venue. But what I found is once I identified 2 or 3, we could kind of rotate around those so nobody got bored. And it added just a little bit of variety. It's really, really nice. So first of all, you got to find the right place. Second thing you need to do is set a date and a time that works for everybody. And y'all, I'm going to give you a little tip here. I recommend if it's a lunch thing, now you could do this as breakfast. It could be a coffee hour in the morning. If it is, I actually would make it really early. I know this is going to make some of you groan, but if I was doing a morning thing, I would be tempted to make it from 7:30 to 9. That will catch your early birds. If that's not your style and you're like, are you kidding, Wendy? No way, Jose. And you do it as a lunch, I would make it 11:30 to 1. If you wait to 12, the lunch crowds are going to make everything way harder. But if you get there a little earlier, even 11:15, you're ahead of the crowd. You get to get the table you want. Everybody gets their order in before the rush. It's so much more manageable. And I would make it the same date and time every month. So like the second Tuesday of every month, the last Friday of every month. The one thing, because that makes it easier for people to remember. Pick a routine and stick with it. People will plan around it. I'm telling you, if you change it all the time, you will lose them. They won't come. But if you make it a routine, folks will show up. And the one thing I would be careful about is I would not do this on a Monday because Mondays are often holidays. Mondays are often meeting days in a lot of practices. So I would avoid a Monday. But other than that, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't remember what I did. I think I did mine on either Thursdays or Fridays. Fridays are often seen as an easy day for this kind of thing. I tend to protect those for myself, so I am much more likely to schedule it on a Thursday, maybe a Tuesday. Actually, any day but Monday or Friday is what I would do. But you do whatever works for you. The main thing is to make sure that it is regular. The next thing I want you to do is to be thoughtful about who you invite. Remember, I'm suggesting 5 to 7 allied professionals. So they can be actual colleagues who are in your practice or who are similar to what you do, but they could also be nurse practitioners, psychiatrists, other energy healers, yoga teachers, massage therapists, guidance counselors, DHS workers, whatever is relevant for you and your practice or the kind of folks you just want to meet. Doesn't matter to me. But I think it's more interesting if you have a little diversity in the group. So think about that. All right. And if you're a little nervous about it and it's like this is a big lift for you, then just invite 2 people and ask them to invite 2 more or 1 more. Really, you want to have it small enough that it feels intimate and easy to talk, but not so small that people feel like they're on the spot and they have to come up with something. All right. So I actually think 5 people is a really nice number. So there you go. And a couple of tips for success to make this work. I'm going to suggest that you follow what I'm going to call the first principle, and that is that it's friendly, informal, regular, small and simple, and timely. So friendly, meaning you are the hostess or the host, like it or not. You're the facilitator. People will look to you to lead. Don't shrink from that. Step into that. This is part of your role as a practice owner. It's also a really good marketing strategy. It doesn't hurt you to be seen as a leader. And we all are waiting for someone to just tell us what to do. So don't be afraid to take the leads and say, here's what we're doing. Here's how it's going to work. Would love to have you come. You want to join us? Right? So, but keep it friendly, warm, welcoming. If you've got somebody shy in the group, make sure that you draw them in. If you've got somebody who's talking a lot, find a way to interrupt them. All right? It doesn't have to be like a tightly structured conversation, but you might want to think of 2 or 3 questions that are really good conversation starters. Like I talked about in my episode on networking a few weeks ago. Did you hear the one where I talked about how to be a networking ninja? You could actually use some of those very same strategies here. Keep it informal. This is not a workshop. This is not a business card exchange. This is not a report of some sort. Don't have them, well, you can have them go around and introduce themselves, but keep it super light and informal. You don't have to wear a suit. Keep it regular. People will attend if they can plan for it. When it's irregular, it will throw them. And honestly, I think once a month is about right. If it's more than that, it's too hard for people to come. If it's less than that, people forget about it. I would try to keep it about once a month. That's my recommendation. But you can always test out other things if you want to try something else. Keep it small and simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't feel like you have to do a bunch of prep work. All you got to do is find the venue and make sure you got people coming. And then keep it timely, meaning find a time that works for everybody. Find a time that works with you, for you, and devote the time to it. I would block off 2 hours for it, but plan on it being about an hour and a half. Give yourself 15 minutes to get there, 15 minutes to get back. That's roughly what I would do. If you live somewhere where the transportation is going to require longer, then of course take that into account. But lest you consider not doing this because it feels like, oh, Wendy, that's 2 hours out of my day. You know how much money I can make during that time? I'm going to tell you this is time well spent. It is important as a business owner that you carve out time to get out of your office and meet people. This has been a bit of a theme for me lately, hadn't it? I've been talking about establishing real relationships. This is another way to do that. And it will make your life so much better. Not only will you have a steady stream of referrals, not only will you know where to go when you need a resource for your clients, not only will you be seen as a leader in your community and as a practice that's worth paying attention to, but you'll also make some friends. You'll be surprised. Okay? So So follow that principle: friendly, informal, regular, small, and timely. And do this, y'all, because I'm telling you, it really is a really effective strategy. And it's so much better, so much less painful than going to some networking meet and greet that, you know the drill, so many people tend to organize. That's not what this is. Not even close. All right, you got it? You see where I'm going with this? So here's my action step. Here's what I want you to do to put this into play. You can do this in your journal. You can do this with a notebook. I want you to download the template that I will have for you here. I'm going to have it listed at wendypittsreeves.com/lunch. That's easy to remember, right? I will have for you. At the time I'm recording this, I haven't done this yet, but I will have it. I want you to go get that template, and then I want you to choose your first 5 people you're going to invite. I want you to get their contact information. I want you to send them an email or call them, and then I want you to show up and have a great, enriching, fun, interesting, light conversation with people you're going to enjoy getting to know. So good. So good. This will be the beginning of all kinds of good stuff for you and your practice. All right? Try it out, my friends. I know what I'm talking about. Speaking from experience, this really does work. Even when I hosted that thing a while back, people said, "So how often do you do this?" They were looking for me to keep it going. So do this for yourself. Keep it going. And lots of good things will come. All right? Have a great week, everybody. Happy midsummer. And I will see you next time. Bye now. Hey guys, I know I talk about mindset a lot, and sometimes that can feel like, kind of a vague thing to get a hold of, right? I mean, creating a mindset of abundance, a mindset that's primed for growth, for success, is important. But what does that actually mean? Essentially, it means that when you take the time to pay attention to your thoughts, to the way you think about what happens around you, to the energy you bring to certain situations in your life and business, your influence grows. Your ability to tune into and manage your own energy empowers you in a way that nothing else can. But it can be tricky learning how to do that. So to make things easier for you, I have pulled together a collection of my favorite mindset books. Every one of these has helped clarify and strengthen an abundance mindset for me in one way or another. These really are my favorites. And now you can find them yourself all in one place. Go to kit.co/WP Reeves. That's KIT.co/WP Reeves. Like W is in Wendy and P is in Pitts. Get that? There you'll find a kit that I have put together with my favorite books for cultivating a mindset of abundance and prosperity. You can search through the collection, find the ones that speak to you, and order them right there if you'd like. Some of these, y'all, are real gems. Some of them you've heard of. Some of them you haven't. Check out the whole collection at www.kit.co/WP Reeves. And yes, I'll put a link to this below. And start shifting your mindset today.